Hey, it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. We got a question in on a covert narcissist and how they tend to really sort of shuffle away and really deflect responsibility where responsibility is required, and how to identify that and how to identify if it's hurting you, hurting the relationship, and causing a ripple of discontent. And that is because to understand the covert narcissist is to understand that this individual very quietly, subtly, really attends to only their own needs. And they will pacify others. They will give others, the very minimal of what is required in order to maintain their place in the relationship. And oftentimes they have people in their life for very selfish reasons. And that eventually comes out as you're in a relationship with an individual for quite a long period of time, especially the covert narcissist. I find a number of people tend to stay with these individuals for some time before realizing that they have exhausted and depleted themselves emotionally, physically, financially, oftentimes to these individuals, and before they really have realized what has occurred. So in terms of a selfishness, and we talk about a disordered individual, we're talking about a pathological selfishness, or a heightened sense of self-importance, really as it relates to the disregard of others. So disregard basically means, sloughing off, disregarding, not paying attention to, not giving any validation, treating as unimportant, treating as unworthy, making one feel not important, or that what is real and important is really not important. So something that is important to you, like being communicated to, like being treated with respect, like being treated like a human being, basically having an open dialogue and not having everything, sequestered away or swept under the rug or put into the closet or the emotional closet. Basically, calling for this and not feeling like you constantly have to get underneath that person to get them to open up. Constantly have to knock on this person. Hey, what's going on here? Like you have to be the leading and driving force to get them to open up or pry them open, at least emotionally, physically, find out what's kind of going on under there. In the beginning of these relationships, oftentimes maybe you enjoyed this and you found a good place for this person because you're able to be yourself and, be that leader, be that high energy, spontaneous person, and kind of take on a lot of the weight or responsibility of the relationship. But eventually, when you're in a relationship, it becomes very lopsided. If one person is attending to too much of the emotional needs and too much of the direction, and having to satisfy this person in only their selfish needs, and you're not receiving in return, you're going to find ways to try to adapt and adjust to that. And oftentimes you're going to have to fill up that void, which is created by that individual and their lack of emotional attention, through other defense mechanisms. Which can often, start as depression or anxiety, or feeling like you're kind of like lost or disconnected to or not attended to or treated as unimportant, or, through the lack of positive. It's almost like neglect by, it's abuse by neglect, or it's the ignoring, where it's the silent treatment, the stonewalling, which is creates the hurt by proxy. It's really a creating of, it's through the lack of positivity that the deficit is created. The emotional deficit is created, basically a big void, if you will, a hole, or something missing, or something not there. It's just, it's been basically, stonewalled off. It's been, through lack of communication. It's been through the absence of eye contact, the absence of, communication, the absence of connection, that this hurt or this inflicting of wound is created onto others. So it's very difficult to see, because it's oftentimes what's not done, which is where the hurt is hurt, where the hurt is created. And so, really, that is, that is really how that emotional wound or that gap creates, or that, void that happens in the relationship. That is how that is created. And once you are able to identify that and realize that this individual, this is just how they are, that they have, compartmentalized a lot of their life. In other words, you might only receive a certain fraction of them or what they're thinking, and they've kind of compartmentalized the rest of their emotions of their life. So you really don't feel like you've got a big picture with this individual, that they've kind of got this stuffed away and this stuffed away here and this stuffed away, that you're not really engaging with the full person. You're just engaging with their persona, which they have given you. So it's very difficult in relationships if you're only dealing with a very small percentage of them, if you're not dealing with the whole person or the real person, especially in an intimate relationship like a marriage, because then there's a lot of covert manipulation going on, a lot of kind of hiding of information, of feelings, of etc. And you kind of, it's something that you sense, and a lot of spouses just tend to enable, or they tend to just let it go, or they don't call it out. And so you really do need to kind of realize that there is a deficit there, and be okay saying, okay, there's a deficit in our relationship. Unbeknownst to me, I had then tried to overcompensate in our relationship by over shopping, overeating, gambling, all the other sundry drugging, things to annihilate the pain or fill up the void, fill up the deficit. That's what ends up happening, is things get out of moderation, things get out of control in order to soothe the hurt or fill the void, fill the gap, fill what wasn't there in the relationship. And we all need different activities, people in our lives to make a well-rounded life, but especially in a marriage, if that is such a big part of your life and that individual is not there, it's going to create this void, and you need to fill it up. Excuse me. Excuse me. Bless me. Bless you, child. So, you need to realize like the cause of the hurt, and you need to realize how you reacted to the hurt and what you're doing now. And so realize if you're still kind of like acting and allowing this hurt, and you're still like, engaging in these behaviors, self-insultory behaviors, self-sabotaging behaviors, the, self-sabotaging, which means, not good for you. You're engaging in a lot of drinking, drugging, smoking, eating the wrong food, compulsively shopping, compulsively engaging in gambling. A lot of this stuff is as a result of that hurt. It's a reaction to that void. So if you're, adjusting to this individual by engaging in a lot of those behaviors, the anorexia, the bulimia, the body dysmorphia oftentimes is an anxiety that is, related to trying to please this individual or deal with the hurt. And it's just like, as you keep engaging in those behaviors, you're engaging in the hurt. You're basically reinforcing the hurt. You're keeping that abuse in your life when you continue those behaviors. So, it's like a trauma bond. You're just, as you engage in those self-sabotaging behaviors, you're reaffirming this individual and their hurt in your life. And you're just making their trauma bond stronger, and you're making your disease or a negative reaction to them even stronger. So you need to realize the cause of a lot of this, these maladaptions, basically the defense mechanisms, to this individual. And you have to say, okay, I now realize how I had tried to adjust and adapt by engaging in all this. This is not going to eventually work. This is becoming a very unfun life. I am getting exhausted. This is not working. This is not effective. This is dysfunctional. This is not taking me to land of promise. This is not taking me to the good life. I want to engage in the good life, and I want it to be balanced. Eventually, you need to have that trust, and you need to have that balance. Yes, some people live, that lifestyle where it's extremes. That's just, maybe it's productive for them. That's their choice. If you want to have an extreme lifestyle, that is your choice. But chances are, eventually it's going to result at a dead end. It's like, okay, I'm growing out of this. I'm no longer living this way. It's like the alcoholic, maybe as a teenager, you were drinking, drugging, etc. Eventually you grow out of it. It's pathetic to be, in your 40s, 50s, and 60s and still trying to live like a 16-year-old. I mean, it's like one needs to eventually grow up, and then they grow out of it. The people who can't grow out of it eventually have those issues in their life, and they need to learn ways of coping and filling up their life in more positive, productive ways that are actually going to be beneficial and serve them, and really re-nutrify them emotionally, because chances are they've engaged in a lot of unhealthy or non-nutritive, to your soul behaviors, relationships, emotions, etc., lifestyle that's just resulting in a dead end. So, that can be the result of a covert narcissist relationship. So you need to claim your place in that. You need to claim your responsibility and not be overly responsible for the covert narcissist, because it's enough to live your own life without having to try to live theirs. Peace and harmony with you here today. I hope these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.